Welcome to Edged Mindset. I am your gracious host, Carter. We're taking a look at this CobraTec CTK-1. This is the small. Comes in three different sizes, small, medium, and large. We're going to do a full-on review of this knife. We're going to talk about if I think it's worth the money, if I think you should spend your money on something else. No holds barred, honest opinion on this knife based on me carrying it, using it a little bit, and just my observations with it. But let me caveat. I'm a bit of a knife snob. I have been into knives for a very long time, and I've been into knives that are really expensive. I've played with some really expensive knives. Now, not a flex. I'm just saying, keep that in mind as I kind of review this. Everybody's journey is different. What they are willing to spend on a knife is different, and what they consider worth upgrading cost-wise is different. I just wanted to make sure that that is well known. Second of all, I'm a big OTF fan. It's like my favorite type of knife. Something about it just speaks to me. I absolutely love it. So I might be a little more, a little more into the details. I might be talking about things and you're going to be like, who cares, dude? Like, that doesn't matter. As long as it keeps working and you can cut stuff, that's all that matters. So just as a heads up, I do really geek out on OTFs and they're a big deal to me, and I really, really like them. So, all right, let's begin. Let's start. CobraTec. CobraTec is a US-based company that outsources knives to China, right? So this is made overseas. Traditionally, based on what I've seen, they're more of a white label operation, meaning they find companies in China that are manufacturing knives. They buy them in bulk and then get them branded with their information, with some, probably a little bit of leeway there. This is obviously a custom mold for these handles here made for CobraTec. But this pattern of knife, which is basically a clone of early combat Trodons from Microtech, have been around for a long time. In fact, kind of this pattern, a similar pattern, I'm not saying exactly, it has changed, it has been modified quite a bit, but this is essentially an early Microtech Trodon pattern. It's been around for a long time. It's some of the earliest quote-unquote clones or copies that have been out there are these OTFs from China back in the early 2000s, which are clones of early combat Trodons. Now, you may be saying, this doesn't look like a combat Trodon. That's because we're on Gen 3 of those now. This is a lot closer to like the Gen 1s. But, like I said, before you come at me with a bunch of hate, I'm not saying that this in and of itself is a clone. I mean, it's been modified and modified to the point where you would only really know that if you've kind of seen the history of these knives, right? If you've seen the original clones of those, and then how that looks like the next iteration, which looks like the next iteration, which then looks like this. Okay, so it's not like a direct, exact copy, but if you've been in the knife world, you've seen it evolve into this sort of pattern here. So made overseas. I hear great things about CobraTec's warranty. I hear it's amazing. If you have any issues, send it in. They'll send you another one. They'll take care of you. I've seen them at knife shows. They seem to be very friendly and very nice there. They have a presence and things like that at the knife shows. And I know a lot of people really like these knives, and I haven't really heard of any issues. They seem to be functional and made well. So let's do specs really quick. We're looking at 2 3/4 inch blade. Overall length is about, almost 7 if you take it to the end of the glass breaker there, or 6.5 kind of to the end of the handle there. Let's get a weight on here. Now, this is one of my biggest contention points, is the weight of this guy, 5 ounces. If we compare it to this Microtech Hera, this is the original Hera, the smaller version. I'll show you how it compares size-wise. This one is 3.1 ounces. So almost 2 ounces lighter on this Hera than on this CobraTec. And you can see similar in size. The Hera is actually bigger, right? So not only is the Hera larger, but it's also considerably lighter, as you can see there. It's actually pretty amazing. The reason for that is the Hera uses a 6061 aluminum frame, whereas this is labeled as an aluminum alloy. but I think it's mostly zinc. It's a very heavy handle, and you'll find that a lot on more inexpensive OTFs of the cheaper variety, where they use a lot of more zinc-based handles. Now, the benefit to doing something like a zinc-based handle is it's a lot cheaper, right? The material itself is a lot cheaper, but you can also cast it. Now, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming that these are cast. I don't think this is milled and machined out. They probably made a custom mold for CobraTec, and then they're casting these zinc handles. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. But casting is a lot cheaper, especially when you're wanting to get like intricate, deep designs like this, because if you're machining all this with, a CNC or something, that's a lot of time. It's a lot of time to make this handle, whereas a cast, it doesn't take any longer to cast a complex pattern than a simple one, whereas machining, it takes a lot longer to machine a complex pattern than a simple one. So all of this is machined. These are done with aluminum billets, and then it's machined out, both the internals as well as the external pattern here. And time is money, right? That is the age-old thing, especially when you're talking about USA made, which is what we have right here. These are USA hours, which are very, very expensive, so it adds to the cost. Whereas this, being cast overseas, not as big of a deal. The button there, you can see kind of cheaper paint on there. It looks like it's just spray painted. It's even starting to come off from just firing this thing. The biggest thing, D2 steel on the blade here. Now, D2 properly heat treated is no slouch. It's good. Very inexpensive steel, but it's very serviceable. Main issue with it is having to deal with rust problems. So keep an eye on that if you're rocking D2. Obviously, CPM D2 is a far, far superior steel than regular D2, which is what this is made out of. Now, I don't have a way to test the Rockwell hardness, and I don't have the time to really put this through its paces. So far, it seems fine. I don't think it's going to win any awards for best heat-treated D2, but I don't think it's anything egregious either. Didn't come super sharp out of the box. Not that this grind would lend itself to be a slicer or anything like that. But I did kind of expect it to be like it's really not very sharp. And you can kind of see on the edge here, it's kind of just not very clean. It looks like it has a rough secondary bevel, and then they kind of buffed it really quick. Not very sharp. Compared to this Wolverine, also from CobraTec, this one came screaming sharp. And you can see how much cleaner that secondary bevel is. So I don't know. More than likely, these might be different companies making these knives. I don't think CobraTec, I don't know, but I would assume CobraTec doesn't source all of their stuff from the same factories. They probably use a couple. So the factory that makes these OTFs might be different than the side openers. I don't know. Just throwing that out there. You can look at the handle width difference too. So not only is this heavier material, it's also really thick and chunky. Now, here's the thing. The weight, it feels kind of good. It feels substantial. Some people might like that. It also gives a cool sound when opening, because it doesn't reverberate as much. Not that this one has a bad sound, but it just has this kind of solid feel to it. Some people would actually prefer the heavier one. They feel heavy equals quality equals expensive. One of the things with OTFs made out of aluminum that can kind of throw you off is just how light they are. You kind of almost think, wow, is this not really a substantial thing? Is this flimsy? Now, of course, it isn't, because there's no plastic. This is all 6061 aluminum, high quality, all milled out to perfection, put together, but the lightweight can throw some people off. So that's kind of up to you to decide. Now, on this size, not that big a deal. 5 ounces for a capable knife like this. When you get into the large, I think it's almost 10 ounces. So talk about a brick. Very, very heavy. But we're not talking about the large. We're talking about the small. Action is good. It feels good. It fires well. I like it. Blade play, pretty standard for an OTF. I would say it's spot on. Maybe even a little less than Microtech, honestly, between these two. you know, it's got that blade play. A lot of people don't like that, but it's not bad. It's pretty good, you know, especially at this price point. So can't knock them on the blade play if that's something you care about. Pocket clip is just a bent steel pocket clip. Very simple, no extra angles. If you were to look at like a regular old school bent pocket clip from Microtech, it's got a couple divots to kind of catch on your pants and things like that. This is just a very simple, straightforward, swooping pocket clip. Painted, you can see right there. So not Cerakote, not DLC, just kind of a semi-gloss paint there. You've got the white logo painted on here as well, so not laser etched or anything. Glass breaker with just, I assume, a steel ball in the end there, compared to Microtech's, which have a ceramic ball in their glass breaker. Hera doesn't actually have one of those. It's a little bit different there. Done the size comparison. Overall, it's fine. It's a fine knife. Can't really complain about anything specific. It's heavy. The steel's not so great, but it's functioned, right? I don't think I've had a single misfire on this guy at all. So if that is the pinnacle, you know, for the money, a reliable knife that'll fire, that the steel is good enough for most people, general tasks, it's not too bad. I will say, when we get into pricing though, is kind of where things start to fall apart. This is pretty expensive. So this is kind of a more expensive version of this because it has a Cerakoted body here. This is in the tungsten. This retails for $140 US from CobraTecKnives.com or whatever the website is. I don't know if dealers get these cheaper. If anybody knows, comment down below. Is that kind of the MSRP that you would pay off that main website? Or are there dealers that get these for less cost? Because at $140, it's really tough for me to say I recommend getting something like this. For example, this one right here I bought on the secondary market for $300. Now granted, it was a secondary market, so it's below retail, but brand new condition, new in box. Bought it for $300. This was a couple years ago. Titanium pocket clip, M390 steel, Microtech, USA made. I mean, in my mind, I know it's double the price, but to me, it's a no-brainer that I would save and get something like this over this. Now, if you can get this for less money, $80, $60, something like that, now we're talking. Now it kind of makes sense, and I could actually say, okay, I could see why you'd want to go with a CobraTec here. The warranty is another positive, right? Microtech has a good warranty, but because of the fact that it is more expensive, they're just naturally going to be a little more apprehensive about full replacements. You got to send it in, they fix it, they return it. With CobraTec, because the price point on how they're getting these at wholesale are so inexpensive, they're more likely just to send you a replacement. You have any kind of issue, they'll just send you a new one, which, you know, is really cool. But then when you think about the fact that, you know, really, yeah. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to kind of make that decision. But what I would say is if you can save your money, buy a Microtech on the secondary market at a deal, if you can do that, if you're in the forums and things like that. Or keep your eyes open, maybe at a gun show, pick one of these up for cheap. This would make a good truck knife, beater knife, something like that. They're very tough. I did some stabbing tests with this thing, no issues, didn't break. I think it's going to function and serve you, but it's just, you know, for the money, the materials you're getting, I can't fully be on board. All right, guys, that's it. We're done talking about the CobraTec. You guys take care. Leave any comments down below on what your opinion is on which one of these you would get. Would you pay double the money, a little over double the money for this? Or would you rather get 2 or maybe even 3 of these if you can find them at a good deal and maybe not get the Cerakote version? Comment down below. As always, appreciate you. Couldn't do this without you. Wouldn't want to anyways. Take care. I'm out.